Welcome back to my channel. It is the 2nd of March, a Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Thank you for coming in today. This morning, we are going to learn. My name is Masolo Mutugai. This is RWS, which is Randoms with Shades, and I am Shades, the Rebel. This is the channel where we learn, create, and so let us get into the video. Hi, I'm Shades, and just like this title sequence that you're watching over here, nothing has order because it's random. So like I said yesterday, I am taking you guys through the process of making a garment. One thing I must mention is that I am making a top for myself. I am still trying to find my style. I don't really know what it is that I like when it comes to clothing. I do know one thing for sure is that I like to see my collarbone, and also at times I like to see my shoulders. So in today's video, I'm going to show you guys the process where I actually start making my sketches. I use my croquis and then do different sketches and then pick one garment that is my favorite. So I've already made the sketches already. I am going to show you guys now how I did it, and then I'll explain everything as I go. Okay, so guys, so the first thing that you're going to do is use your croquis to draw your rough sketches if you are me and can't draw. This is a croquis that I got from the University of Durban University of Technology, where I studied fashion, and I've been using it for almost 4 years. So what I do is place it under a tracing paper, which is a see-through paper, as you can see, and I just draw my rough designs. And this was for the purpose of the video, so these are not the designs that I made. I had already drawn some of the designs that I wanted to make for the top, but this is pretty much what I do. And yes, I'm drawing with a pen. You can use whatever you feel comfortable with to draw your rough sketches. I just like using pens. The messiness of a pen looks very artistic for me, so yeah. And I think that a pencil is a bit, yeah, it's a bit of a mess. It's a bit smudgy. So these are the rough sketches that I have done, and I wrote down what I wanted from the top. So I wanted something that's gonna be flared, very airy. And because I don't know what style I'm going for, I was just like, whatever I think is gonna suit me, basically. And it has to be pink with an open back. That was my needs from the top. And the bottom sketch is the one that I chose, but I pretty much have my rough sketches out, and I just sit down and think about what is going to work best for me. So the first thing that you do when starting with a technical drawing is fold your page in half, draw a line on that fold line, and make sure that fold line and now drawn line match the center of the croquis. There is a center line on the croquis, and then you start drawing the technical drawing, and we're only going to draw on half of the side. I am currently drawing on the left, and the reason why we're drawing only half is because we want our garment to be symmetrical and proportional when we are done with the technical drawing. So that's why we draw it like this. But if it is an asymmetrical garment, then you're just gonna copy what you need and then change and edit later. So now I'm tracing the other side, which is now the right side of the front of the garment. And bear in mind that I haven't even started on the back. Also make sure that when you're drawing a technical drawing, you draw it as a flat garment. So in other areas of the world, they call a technical drawing a flat. And this is because of the literal idea of placing a garment flat on the ground, and what you see is what you draw. So that is why when you are drawing a technical drawing, you could also draw things that are actually visible from the front. So as you guys can see, I folded my paper in half and I'm tracing the back. And because the back and front are very similar, which in most cases it should be, I am going to be tracing the front for the back. And bear in mind that the back is an open back, but the same applies if you put your garment flat on the ground, what you see is what you're going to draw. And so I've drawn the outline. And what is different here that I've not traced is the fact that the neckline is a V-neck at the back and it is an open back. So those are the edits that I am doing now that I've traced. The same will apply when it's something that is asymmetrical. You will do the edits after you have traced and pretty much gotten the proportion. So now this is how it looks. And the next thing that I do is fine line the garment. Fine lining the garment is just giving it a more permanent and professional touch. As I'm drawing, I am light with my hand because a fine liner can be very, it can sometimes spill a lot of ink. So you need to be very careful with that. As I'm drawing, I'm very light with my hand and I'm also extending my lines just to get nice clean lines. Don't worry about that because we are going to be cutting our technical drawing out. And the fine liner that I'm using is a zero point 0.4 size, which I do think is very big. So I do advise that you can use a zero point 0.3 to draw your comment. And as you can see, guys, I'm using these curve rulers that are not very expensive. So these help very much with curves on the comments. You can get a nice clean curve instead of trying to draw a curve with freehand. There are some people that draw amazing freehand curves. If you're not one of those people, I suggest you invest in one of these. In industry, they do use technical drawings, but they make the technical drawings through Illustrator or whatever systems that they have. So this is important to know how to do, but mostly they do it on the computer. So you wouldn't have to worry much if you are thinking of going into industry. This is not something you should really worry much about, but knowing how to do it is very important. So there I am, I'm adding my style lines, which is the garment gathers. And make sure that you wait for your fine liner to dry before you erase the pencil marks because you will definitely smudge your paper. And we're trying to keep everything professional. So everything must be neat and tidy. So you need to work very neatly. Don't be messy, okay? The next thing that I do is because I only had one fine liner, I couldn't find a smaller fine liner. I don't know where to get it, guys. Please help me. But I got a zero. I have a 0.5 lead pencil and I'm using that to draw my stitch lines. I would advise that you go for a 0.05 fine liner or zero point 0.1 fine liner to draw your stitch lines. And as you can see, like I'm going to repeat this so many times, when drawing a technical drawing, you draw what you see. So whatever you see on the garment is what you're going to draw, right? And the stitch lines are also something that you need to draw. And as I'm adding my stitch lines on the hem area, on the neck lines, on my shoulder, I am making sure that it is exactly how it's going to look when the garment is complete. So that is why we call technical drawings flats. So as you can see, this is my garment. I'm done and I haven't drawn the bow at the back yet. This is because I don't know how to draw one. I still need to research because I want it to look very neat and professional. Usually I draw a messy squiggly line, but that's not what we want. The next thing that I'm doing is now shading in the areas that do not belong to that part of the garment. So if the front um technical drawing has a back that is visible, that's where I'm going to draw the gray areas, as you guys can see, and the same will apply for the back. If there are parts of the front that are visible from the back, I am going to shade them in a gray color. This is really not necessary, but for me it's very necessary. And like I said, with every designer, they have their own way of doing things. This is my way of doing things. It is definitely very long, I must tell you, because I think it's unnecessary for me to do this since I'm doing it for myself. But I always go back to being lazy to make a technical drawing or being lazy to make a pattern. So just having something that I've recorded, especially if it's going to be the first time that I'm doing it, it makes life a lot simpler if I would want to remake the garment or make something similar with a similar pattern. And yeah, and all I do is just take pictures and write notes and add it to this. So yeah, that's the process. And the next thing that you do is definitely cut out your technical drawing. Like, remember, we had overlapping lines that were helpful for our clean lines. Yes, we're cutting them out, and that's why you shouldn't worry much about it. And also, when cutting out, make sure that you're cutting on the outside of the fine liner, not on the inside, because you would be defeating the purpose of drawing it. The next thing that I'm going to do is stick my technical drawings onto a spec sheet. A spec sheet is a sheet that has the image of the garment. It has all information about the garment, the measurements, the length, the type of fabric, the color, the type of thread, how many centimeters seam lines should you have, and also your hem lines. Literally everything about the garment is written down on a spec sheet. That's why it's called a spec sheet, specification sheet. And there you have it. This is a spec sheet that I made myself. So I made it big enough to be able to place my back and front on both on the same page, sorry. I've also sectioned out an area where I can put my fabrics and trims, and also an area where I can write down special notes. And this is where I'm going to use those special, that area of the special notes, to write down notes on how I struggled with the garment, if I did struggle, any improvements. This is when I've already taken the picture, but that's the final step. So as you can see, I'm writing down all the measurements, all the information that is necessary. I'm writing down the types of sleeve. I'm writing down how many centimeters I'm going to gather it by. And usually I don't write down like the exact measurements. When it comes to gathering, I just write multiply by 3 or multiply by that. But you just become very specific about everything. This is very important for you as well as a pattern maker. If you are a designer or are an aspiring designer and you don't want to do patterns or struggle with patterns, you need to write down all the information that is very important for the pattern maker to be able to make the garment. Also, it's very important for the designer to also know some pattern knowledge so that you know what information the pattern maker will need. So yeah. I also have a section where I write down the description of the garment. This is just a brief description. You're pretty much repeating what has been written on the annotations, but with the annotations, it is more specific with measurements and stuff like that. Whereas your description is just like, it is a flat pink top made out of cotton, with puffed sleeves, necklines that are faced, an open back, and 2 centimeter seam allowance on all seams, as well as a 4 centimeter hemline allowance. So I'm so sorry, guys. I'm a bit fluish. Yeah. But yeah, so basically that's what your description is all about. I also put in my fabric and trim, which is just the elastic. And the paper that I'm using to glue all these things is my glue paper, because you want everything to stick nice and flat. You don't want to mess your table, you don't want to mess the garment or the technical drawing or the things that you are sticking onto the spec sheet. So you need to have a surface where you can work neatly. Remember, we work neatly. And then at the top of my spec sheet, I've also sectioned out an area where you write down your name, who the pattern maker is, who the machinist is going to be, the style number of your garment and pattern, as well as like what is the garment, the season the garment is going to be made for. Yeah, and that's just the general information. And here is a technical drawing with everything needed. Obviously, sometimes you might add more things along the way, but this is pretty much it. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching today. See you guys tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.